Poll after poll shows that after Biden dropped out of the race, his party has been re-energized by Harris's campaign. And as momentum continues to grow, an ABC News Washington Post Ipsos national poll shows the vice president ahead by 6 points among likely voters. Let's break down the numbers with CNN's Harry Enten. Harry, take us through them.
Boris, I wish you were here with me. We could enjoy this little song together. But look, at the end of the day, what we're seeing in the polls right now with Kamala Harris is clear momentum. Just take a look at my aggregate of polls, compare it in the month of August to compare it to what was going on in July, and you see that Harris was down a point a month ago, and now nationally she's up by 3 points, and more than that, Donald Trump has actually dropped back a little bit. It's not just that she's gaining from undecided voters, she's even taking a little bit of Donald Trump support. Definite momentum for her coming out of this, going into this convention, and who knows what momentum she might get coming out of this convention, Boris.
That is a good point. We often see a bump in numbers after a convention. How dramatically has this race changed in the month or so since Biden dropped out and Harris jumped in?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been such a different race. Joe Biden was trailing and trailing and trailing. It was months on end in which he was trailing, and then you go into this convention, right, and we see the momentum that Harris has, and the question is, as I alluded to, what is the bounce that she could potentially get coming out of it? So let's just look at some historical bounces, right? And what do we see? We see on average a candidate gets a 2-point bounce. That would be pretty good for her. How about the largest bounce in record? That was 8 points. Bill Clinton back in 1992. He exploded out of that convention. Of course, it is possible that you could see some deflation in her numbers. That happened to Hubert Humphrey coming out of the 1968 Democratic Convention, one that I think a lot of people have been trying to draw some historical analogy to, given the protests of the Vietnam War, and then obviously we've seen some protests over how the United States government has been handling the relations with Israel. So there's been a wide range, but generally speaking, conventions do provide a bounce, which obviously Kamala Harris would certainly welcome coming out of this convention.
And quickly, Harry, how could a bounce change her standing right now?
Yeah, I mean, if she got the normal size bounce, she'd be getting a majority of the vote. If she got a Bill Clinton type bounce, look at that, she'd jump up to 57%. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, but I think the clear thing that we should take away from this is she could be commanding a majority of the vote coming out of this convention. Of course, if it turns into 68, she could actually be trailing coming out of the convention. I'm just not thinking that's the most likely scenario, Boris.
Harry Enten, thanks so much for walking us through the numbers. Look forward to having that waltz some other time. Harry Enten from Chicago, thank you.